On this episode of Locked On Angels, the Halos added more pitchers and hitters to their roster yesterday with the draft. So who are they? And here's the big question. Are they any good? Let's talk about that today. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day, your first draft pick of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. Thanks to those that have done that recently. 5 stars, really kind thoughts. And we owe you a free dinner, or maybe we need to hang out at Angel Stadium or something like that. That'd be a whole lot of fun, right? And if you're not subscribed already on YouTube, please subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button. Really helps out the show. Become a Locked On every day. Or whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube and leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by Monarch Money. You can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
And we're talking Angels baseball 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, every single weekday. On today's show, got to talk about the draft, just a little thing called the MLB player draft. It's, ho-hum, not much going on. No, just kidding. We're going to discuss that in today's show. We're going to start with a quick recap and some thoughts about what happened on Sunday. I've had some time to decompress, look around the league, look around at some of what people are saying about the Angels picks. And so, Mike, why don't you get us started with that?
Yeah, I want to start by going back to the number 1 draft pick, Tyler Bremner for the Halos. Has everyone calmed down yet? Has everybody taken a deep breath? Right now, here's what I love about this show is that we get everybody, right? We get the ones that are ready to set their hair on fire to the ones that are like, everybody you need to take a soak. You need to relax, right? And so I really appreciated the reasonable, thoughtful, even the ones that question and were curious about that draft pick. That's what I love about what we get to do here. We didn't get a chance to respond to all, I think 200 and some plus comments yesterday. And that's
not very much
at last check, right? One of those was just one guy just kind of going through. We get it, right? Yeah. And so there's been a lot of discussion, obviously, of what the Angels should have done. We talked about that on yesterday's show. We were disappointed because we had an idea of who the Angels should have taken. By the way, the Pirates and their fans are pissed because they selected Seth Hernandez, the guy that we wanted, right? I mean, so it's just funny to see how that happens in different fan bases and how people respond to that. A lot of discussion about why the Angels took Tyler Bremner. So I want to start with an ESPN report that the Mariners actually had Tyler Bremner on their big board as their 3rd pick in the draft. First round, they were number 3. They were going to select him at number 3, according to ESPN reports. Now, Ryan Falla of Angels Win said, if that's the case, this is a double win because not only are they, it's a confirmation that this guy was the top of the board status for a lot of teams. We also pulled the rug out from a direct rival. And then he had some great comments back and forth with fans. And Ryan, we know you watch. Dude, you're hilarious. And so I thought you did a great job in responding. But let's be clear. Bremner was a top 10 guy, and in some cases, top 5 guy to start the season. Now his season was rough, and he did recover, but that doesn't mean that we're saying he's the right pick. That doesn't mean that we're saying that the Angels should have taken him. That doesn't mean that they should have gone with somebody else like Holiday or Hernandez or even Kate Anderson. All of that to say, it sounds like, John, that the Angels got a dude. They got a good winner. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But that's where we want to start is we've got a guy that is a dude, and he has some development that needs to take place and learn a 3rd pitch and those types of things. But there's a makeup conversation that we'll have at the end of this segment that I think is really important to Tyler Bremner and who the Angels have drafted over the last few years. But we wanted to start by just saying, hey, we see it, we recognize it, but Tyler Bremner sounds like he's a dude, and I'm excited to have him on the Angels.
He's going to be a fine pick. He's going to be a good pick. And It's not who you and I would have taken it to. It's not what a lot of fans would have done at 2. We would have wanted to build for the future. Seth Hernandez, even Ethan Holiday, right? Like, we wanted to build for the future. And so this is not our choice, but it doesn't make it a bad choice or make him a bad player.
Yeah.
I think that, well, I guess you could say it's a bad choice if you disagree with it, but it doesn't make him a bad player. And I think that's the hang up that a lot of people have, is just like, well, where the heck was this guy? He was 18 on MLB Pipeline. Yeah, but he was 7th on Fangraphs and 5th on Jeff Ellis's Locked On board, and nobody's even talking about Bremner. Like, we mentioned him on Friday when we mentioned Jeff's top 5. So, and Jeff has all of that.
He's not a dummy. Jeff is smart, and Jeff is the type of guy that, and this is not a judgment to him, this is a celebration to him. Jeff is the type of guy that's going to lock himself in his basement, and he's going to figure out the Excel spreadsheets of who's good and who's not, and he's got access to all that stuff. So when he came out before Bremner was even picked by the Angels, he came out and said Bremner's top 5. Like, this guy is really good. And the reason why he was top 5 was because he had actually struggled the beginning parts of the season and then recovered. And so Ellis had him a bit higher, but really kind of had him land at about 5, which is exciting, right? The Angels, again, they got a dude.
Yeah. I want to talk about the money narrative for the moment, because when you say that a pick or a team goes below slot value, that does not mean that they are cheaping out. And I've seen a lot of comments about, typical Arte cheaping out. And what's he doing? Trying to pocket money. That is not how this works. Let me be clear. That is not how this works. What happens here is that if you have somebody, let's say Ethan Holiday, and you're going to take him at number 2, the slot value of the number 2 pick in the draft, let's say, I believe it was around like 12 million, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, right? So you take that value and you give Ethan Holiday more than that because you want him real bad, right? That's what a team will do. Now, getting somebody like Bremner, you can save a couple million, which you can use later on in the draft to incentivize players who are coming out of high school to sign with you. Ryan Prager, somebody that didn't sign with the Angels last year. He was a high schooler, didn't sign with them. Actually, no, I think he returned to college. He didn't. He wasn't a high schooler. He was a college player. But that happens. And Mike, this new, is it NIL that these college players have agreements with? College players can get sponsorship deals now. And that's a huge incentive for them to go to college or stay in college. Therefore, teams need to save a little bit here and a little bit there. But here's the thing. When you have a bonus pool of money, you can use up to that amount. And you can exceed it, but there is a penalty associated. So you have to be able to spread the wealth across all 20 picks. And that includes those young players that need to be signed for a little extra incentive to come to the Angels, because they could go to college and they could get a sponsorship deal. Now, people talk about cheaping out, but here's the thing. The last 2 years, the Angels have actually exceeded their bonus pool money and the allowed money they're allowed to spend, the allotted money, I should say, that they're allowed to spend. So going under slot does not mean cheaping out. In fact, the Angels spent in 2024 about $600K over what they were allowed to spend. And then in 2023, they spent about $400K over which they were allowed to spend. So they've actually spent more than they're allowed to in the draft. Don't forget, too, that there's international bonus pool money for them to sign international free agents in January. So they have actually spent their money. They spent their money on draft picks. They spent their money on international free agency. And this is not a situation where if you go under slot, Artie's like, sweet, I got an extra $2 million I saved, and I'm not going to spend, right? That's not how this works. And the last 2 years have proven the Angels have gone over the amount they're allowed to spend. They're not cheaping out here.
Yeah. Continuing with a recap, Sam Blum tweeted yesterday, I asked Angels scouting director Tim McIlvaine why the Angels prioritize fast-moving prospects year after year over taking players that might be better long term. Here's what he said. I wouldn't look at it as a priority for us to get guys that can move like that. We do a lot of work trying to find guys that are wired right. When you get guys that want to win, that want to compete, that are able to do that, that are ready to do that, and are ready physically to do that well, then that's where guys can take off. For us, when we're looking out for guys, it's easy for us to go to the field and watch guys throw and watch guys run. That part is easy. But when you're trying to figure out what's inside these guys' heads, what's inside their hearts, that's the part that we spend a ton of time trying to figure out. When we get those guys that are wired right, the ones that are physically ready to do that, those are the guys that can take off. There's plenty of others that we've taken that are on a slower path, and that's okay. So, John, this to me, I'm going to read between the lines here, but this to me sounds like the Halos are doing what we've talked about on this show and what you specifically have brought up. It's about makeup. It's about the kind of guys that want to win. And this is why they're going after guys like Bremner and others in this draft.
Man, I hate being right all the time. No. We're not talking about makeup, Sephora makeup. We're talking about what makes a player up and what makes them, good in between the ears. And look, Zach Neto is the perfect example of that. That's a guy who wants to win. And when you have to make adjustments and you have to learn how to be a ball player, Neto's adapted, and he's adapted well. He's got the skill set and the mindset to be a great baseball player. And so if that's what they took in Bremner, I think the proof of that is the fact that, what he said about, the difficulty with his mom passing away and how she got worse toward the end. It made him want to pitch better and made him want to be a better player. I think that that's part of what they're looking for, Mike. And so that makes sense to me. It's about the makeup. And we warned everyone, they're going to throw us a curveball and probably pick somebody based on makeup, and we'll all go,
Yep.
Him? And that's what happened, right?
Yeah, go back and listen to Friday. We said that on Friday, and that's exactly what happened. Now, he was also asked about who they drafted in the first couple of rounds, and he said, we're excited. We got 4 good arms, 4 guys we're really excited about, guys that are going to be getting a lot of outs in the big leagues. And he said their plan isn't just to go for pitchers, and they proved that in the later rounds of the draft, got some hitters. But he said, we are really excited about who we have. Now, I love this tweet from our friend Jared Timms of Talking Halos. He said, through the first 6 rounds, the Angels have added 5, maybe 6 top 30 prospects on Jared's board. Now, he is a friend, so we're a bit biased, but Jared's pretty spot on when it comes to minor leagues and when it comes to prospects. And so I like that he likes what the Angels have done. And we're going to talk about who they got in the 2nd and 3rd round, the supplemental round, and the 4th round on today's show.
Yeah, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, who did the Halos take in the 2nd and 3rd round, the 3rd round supplemental part, and the 4th round? We'll get into all of that coming right up.
Hey, it's time to manage your money and maybe even grow your wealth and do it in an easy way, right?
I did. I used our little promo code and got my wife and I Monarch Money, and it's already making a huge difference, Michael.
John, has Monarch Money put you in the driver's seat?
Yes.
Has Monarch Money been like a personal CFO?
Yes.
Has it given you full visibility and control over your finances?
Literally, the first thing it did was show me a chart, spending comparison of this month and last month, and then the projection of that. And so, me and projections and charts and baseball nerd stuff. Let me do that with my finances too. Come on.
Absolutely. You just now you have to do it, John. Now you have to do it. You
course,
got Monarch Money support. It's ready to go. And you can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Mike, rounds 2 and 3 had a couple of selections because the Angels had a supplemental pick in round 3. So with the 47th pick of the draft, the Angels selected right-handed pitcher Chase Shores out of LSU. He was number 77 on the top 250 draft prospects list. From Rhett Bollinger, here's what he had to say. Shores can light up a radar gun as he threw 47 pitches faster than 100 miles an hour during this year's College World Series, earned the save and the clinching victory in the title game. Mike, this is something we need to know, he had a 5.09 ERA with 70 strikeouts, 31 walks in 63 2/3 innings pitched this year. As a 21-year-old, he's regained command after Tommy John surgery in April of 2023. Tim McIlvaine says he's really athletic, 6'8".
Dang.
He's originally from Colorado. We actually had a lot of interest in him out of high school. He hit his stride down the stretch and got some big outs for LSU along the way. Here's the grades from the scouting grades here. A 65 grade fastball, 55 grade slider, 45 grade changeup, 45 control. Overall, he's a 45 grade prospect. He can hit 101 and works 94 to 98 on the fastball, but the fastball is featuring less arm side run and overempowering hitters less than it did in the past. While his mid-80s slider has good depth, it's been his most reliable pitch in 2025. Doesn't always land for strikes or get many chases with it. He actually trusted his upper 80s changeup more than his slider as a freshman, though it has been getting hammered this year. More athletic than most players his size, he should be able to keep his long limbs in sync and repeat his low three-quarter delivery as he gains more experience. To this point, he's succeeded by relying more on chases than precise location, and his pitches haven't tempted hitters to stray far from the zone as much. His first-round arm talent is there, but he must learn to harness it.
Yeah, big arm, and don't let that 5 ERA throw you. He is recovering from Tommy John and having to get back into the rhythm of things, and it was the College World Series where he really found his sweet spot, and there's a great interview with him and his teammates from that team on MLB Network from earlier this year, and it was a great interview. Really good dude. John, in the third round, the Angels selected Johnny Slawinski, and he was the 2025 Prep Baseball Texas Player of the Year. Now, Slawinski comes from Johnson City. This is from Rhett Bollinger. It's a small Texas town of around 2,000 people. Big, huge, right? And they've never produced, here's a surprise, never produced a major leaguer or a draft pick in the first 60 rounds. But this kid, 18 years old, he broke the mold. He's 6'3", has a fastball that touches 95 to go along with a slider and a curveball and a changeup. And he's also a talented hitter in high school. He was committed to Texas A&M. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Tim McIlvaine said Slawinski is a really good athlete and actually led the state in home runs, got a really good fastball, throws a ton of strikes, and he struck out 177 guys this year with only 14 walks. Now, he uses different breaking balls to offset the fastball. The grades on some of his pitches are not bad. Fastball is at 55, curveball at 50, slider at 55, changeup at 55, control at 50. So his overall numbers are at 50. Now, this is from Travis Brown of KBTX News in Texas. He says Slawinski confirmed with them that he's going to sign a professional contract. Now, his slot value was $1.03 million. Slawinski said, I'm signing. It's super excited. It's a dream when I was young, and it's everything that I've wanted to be a part of. He talked about Texas A&M, and he said the 12th man is great, and I'm super thankful for those guys. And I know everyone there in Aggie land will have my back all the way through it. I'm a little bit sad about going straight to the draft, but I know that they'll be with me every step of the way. So it's good. It's a good sign that the Angels got this young prep player. By the way, they drafted 9 prep players this draft. That's the most that Perry has ever drafted. 3 before that, I believe, is the amount that he's drafted. And they've got some good young arms. This guy, Slawinski, and to go along with Trey Gregory Alford that they drafted last year. John, These are the guys that you have to save some money on and give them the $1 million or a little bit more to be able to incentivize them not going to school and to come and play for you. But he's 18. A lot of people are really excited about him, John. He's somebody that has good control, somebody that owns the strike zone, and he can hit a little bit. And so people are like, hey, is he in the next Shohei? Hey, calm down. We're not there yet. But this guy is a really good arm, and the Angels are really excited about him.
Yeah, Baseball America says Linsky projects for a solid or better he projects for solid or better control, looks like a starter. So that's also encouraging as well. Mike, man, going to Texas A&M And being, the size this kid is, like, he could have made a lot of money in college. I don't know if it's $1 million, but look, this is the sure thing. And so good on the Angels for being able to sign this guy. Great stuff there. We'll get into the next couple of picks here. And of course, on tomorrow's show, get into, some of those rest of those picks that were made as well. But yeah, some good news here, some good arms, and lots to be excited about.
Get the supplies you need from the site that is made for skilled trades at supplyhouse.com. Whether it's plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order products online. They got a really easy-to-use website packed with helpful resources, all the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400-plus top brands. You're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need some help, they're going to help you. They offer expert support and industry-leading service. They've got a real person that you can call and you can talk to, ask all the questions that you need. And if you're a trade pro and you're looking for an extra edge, join their free Trade Master program. You get really good perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, discounts on every order. It's worth it. Just go to supplyhouse.com/TM to join their program today. And you can start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. And when you do check out, use our promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order at supplyhouse.com.
Let's get into some of these picks from the third round with their supplemental pick in the third round. It was 105th overall. The Angels took Tennessee right-handed pitcher Nate Snead, hard-throwing guy with a fastball that touches 101, mostly a bullpen guy. And so this is going to be probably his projection moving forward. They did like Chris Cortez, who pitched in relief with Texas A&M, and so there's kind of a comparison there with Snead. The Angels they might try him out as a starter. We were fortunate enough to talk to Chris Cortez and figure out how that transition has been going for him. Here's what Tim McIlvaine had to say. We're going to give him a chance to start, get a little more familiar with his pitch package. But with Tennessee, he would come in a lot of times with guys on and get the big outs or shut down games. Now he's 21 years old, stands 6'2". He has gone 14-4 with a 3.67 ERA and 103 strikeouts across his 2 seasons at Tennessee. He was a member of the Volunteers 2024 College World Series championship team, where he had his teammate Christian Moore as part of that team. So the grades from MLB Pipeline give him a 60 fastball. Baseball America gives him the same. They both agree on the curveball being at a 55, and the control sits at about a 50 for MLB Pipeline and a 45 for Baseball America. Snead, this is what they have to say on MLB Pipeline. He owns one of the hottest fastballs in college baseball, deals about 95 to 97, capable of reaching 101, more powerful than lively on the fastball, more sink than carry, so it can get whacked when it doesn't locate well. He's got a low 90s cutter. It's got similar issues. He's got more success retiring hitters this season with a much more improved low 80s curveball. It says unusual for a pitcher who has worked in relief. He's got 5 offerings in his arsenal. Yeah, that's true. Having 5 different pitches in your pitching repertoire as a reliever. That's probably why the Angels are like, let's see what he's got as a starter. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Angels handle the future of Snead. But again, super exciting to see if they can make him a starter and maybe start him out in high A, kind of like what they did with Chris Cortez.
In the fourth round, the Angels selected a third baseman, John. A third baseman. Haven't had a good third baseman since Sean Figgins, right? I think probably Sean Figgins is the last guy that
I liked David Freese. I mean,
he did. He wasn't around that long, though. He was only here for just like a year and a half or
right.
a year, right? But Sean Figgins was great. Of course, Troy Gloss. So Jake Monroe out of Louisville, 6'2", 230 pounds, is a third baseman. From Taylor Blake Ward, he's a power-based corner bat, very physical with a short swing, average to above average power, projection with a good hit tool. He can get to it. He can make contact. He's a corner defender and likely will be a first baseman as he projects. So we'll see what happens there. Before transferring to Louisville, Monroe slashed .415 with a .580 on base percentage and a .880 slugging percentage and homered 35 times in 110 games for John A. Logan. It's a JC school. And then he slashed .346, .451, and .593 with 13 home runs and 13 doubles in Louisville. He's got a compact swing. And so that's the thing that was, I think, drawing me in, because he's somebody that's going to get to the ball, slap the ball around. Think maybe like Luis Arise, but maybe a bit more power. Even Nolan Shonowell is going to get to the ball. Now, Ryan Falla from Angels Win tweeted this: Angels grab another high makeup guy in the draft, this time taking College World Series standout Jake Monroe from Louisville. As an all-College World Series tournament, the Angels once again swing for the high upside talent who has big game experience, and he knows how to win.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see what his future is, if it's going to stick at third base or end up at first base. I was looking at Baseball America. They also say he might need to slide over to first base at the next level. But again, hey, they desperately need some third baseman, Mike. And I think that's one of the reasons why people were upset that they didn't take Ethan Holiday, because he projects on the left side of the field. Now, there's some talk out there that he might also slide over to first base at some point too. And I think that's the issue with a lot of these things, is you just never know where these things are going to end up and how these guys are going to, like they take a reliever and they're like, yeah, we're going to try him out as a starter. Yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. I've said it many times on this show that when somebody gets drafted as a shortstop, or they get signed in international free agency as a shortstop, that often means that they're probably more likely an infielder, right? Very rarely do guys actually stick at shortstop. Zach Neto was one of those exceptions. So you mentioned the makeup of Jake Monroe, what Ryan Falla had to say about him. And we've talked a lot about it. And again, it feels like they took Bremner. They're taking some of these other guys with their makeup. Again, we're not talking about Clinique. We're not talking about Sephora, right? How do you feel about that, Mike, with the makeup stuff? Because we're hearing a lot about it. I think it'd be good to kind of decompress about that.
Yeah, I think that what I'm hearing and how I'm interpreting it, John, is that they're getting guys who are going to go out there and they're going to be focused and they're going to play until the whistle, right? They're going to run through first base, so to speak. They're going to be the guys like the Zach Netos and the Logan O'Hoppes and the Christian Moores that are going to be aggressive. They're going to be dirty on the uniform. They're going to be the guys that are going to take this way too serious, right? And way too serious in a good way. They're going to be the guys that are going to be constantly working on themselves. They're going to be the guys that watch the other team celebrate a playoff victory or clinching a playoff berth and waiting until that is over before they go in and shower in the locker room. O'Hoppe and Neto have both done that. It's gonna be a guy like Logan O'Hoppe who said, we're not happy with the 99 losses. He said that to us last year at the Logan O'Hoppe Bowl. We're not happy with that. That number makes us sick to our stomach. I like that a lot, John, because it has just felt like we've had this weak-minded team, this team that can't handle high-pressure situations, that just surrender and tap out and give in. We've had pitchers that do that. We've had hitters that do that. I feel like some of the pitchers are coming around with this new culture. I think Reed Detmers is one of those guys. Detmers, who was drafted by Billy Epler, and then guys like Chase Silseth, who is trying to work through some injuries. He has some of that like gritty guttiness that I really like. And so I love that, John, because we've talked about it on this show and I've said it multiple times. You can teach skill. You can't teach will. And this team has had a lot of skill players over the last 10 years and it hasn't gotten us anywhere. But if you have gritty, gutty guys that are like, I'm going to play through this. I'm going to work really hard on this. I'm going to win. That's what I love about what the Angels are doing. And I know it's frustrating because everybody said Ethan Holiday was so great. By the way, wasn't a generational talent. Next draft's probably going to be better than this draft. So when you hear those narratives out there, like pump the brakes on some of those narratives, because all of these conversations are always a part of the draft conversations. And so next year's draft will probably be a lot better than this year's draft. But I think that what the Angels are going for are guys that are gritty, gutty, and have a makeup. Holiday had an agent. What's the agent's name?
Boris.
They probably weren't going to be able to work with him. Maybe there was some arrogance. I don't know, right? Like, that's why they're going for these guys. They're getting guys that are humble, gritty, gutty, and ready to go, ready to run through a wall. And that's the type of makeup that this team has lacked for so long.
You mentioned Reed Detmers and how he was a Billy Epler pick in 2020, right? And I think his story and where he is now has taken so long because of exactly what we've talked about for years. His problem has been between the ears. It's all been mental. He's got the talent, Mike. He's always had the talent. He's got one of the best sliders in the game, right? He's got all of the tools to be an excellent starting pitcher. But it's taken 5 years for him to get to this point where he's pitching out of the bullpen, finally having some confidence. And look, don't get me wrong. Should he have been up in 2021? Not on a normal team. Right. He wouldn't have been. Like he probably would have worked a lot of this stuff out in the minor leagues, right? And so I think that's one of the criticisms that the Angels draw is, with the rush that they take with some of these guys. So I think that's a totally fair criticism. But I think what the difference here is when you talk makeup, you talk mindset, and then you talk skill set, they're looking for guys that are going to be part of a culture change. And I don't know that Arte's even aware of the culture change, but I think it started with Perry Manassian hiring Ron Washington. And I think the culture change came when it's like, you know what, we're going to start drafting some dudes that know how to play baseball, that understand the game, that understand what they need to do to be successful in this game. And when they and don't have the lack of confidence between the ears, and they don't have the issues between the ears. You could have the most talented guy in the world, but if they can't execute on the field, look, Brandon Wood would tear it up in the minor leagues, right? Joe Adell for years tore it up in the minor leagues, and it's taken him time to come around and be good, right? And so sometimes these guys just need to have the makeup. And I think if that's what the Angels are going to go for here, it's not going to make me happy all the time because, again, I'd rather see a Seth Hernandez, right? Yeah. Like, that's what I would have rather seen. So I'm not going to get my way all the time, but I'm also going to look at some of these guys and go, hey, you know what? Let's see what happens here. Let's see how they move forward in the draft. Of course, we'll be covering that and more of the picks on tomorrow's show because, like you said, Mike, it took a lot of prep players, more than they've ever taken in the Perry Manassian era. So it's going to be really interesting to see how all of this turns out when all is said and done.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your next listen, check out Locked On MLB with our friend Sully. And then coming back Friday, Locked On MLB Game Night will be on that same channel. You can find it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show. Get in the comment section because we'd love to hear from you. Mike, what do we have on deck on Wednesday's show?
We shared our thoughts, and now we would love to hear your thoughts, and we're going to collect those thoughts from yesterday's show and from today's show, and we'll share a bit of those on tomorrow's show. And we're also going to talk about the perspective of, is this guy good based on what the scouts say versus is he actually good? And there's been a lot of drafts where the scouts have said, this is a can't miss pick, and the guy failed. And then scouts said that this is not a great pick, and the guy succeeded, including someone named Mike Trout. So we're going to share some of the scouts' takes on players that didn't succeed and they loved, and players that did succeed and the scouts didn't love. All that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that conversation. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday. Mike, don't you just hate being right all the time? Why?
I don't know. I haven't been right in a while, so...